Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha says that he will make the first move to defuse the situation in the country. He's prepared to lift the state of severe emergency in Bangkok if there are no violent incidents. This comes as protesters return to the streets of Bangkok to show their disapproval of the government. And as you can see here from these live pictures out of the Thai capital, they've been on the march from Victory Monument to Govt House after taking a break yesterday. For the latest, Saksit Sayasombat and May Wong join us now from Govt House in Bangkok. Saksit, first to you. Are we seeing any change in protesters' stance after the Prime Minister's speech?
Well, it looks like the protesters haven't got the memo yet, because that speech was just broadcasted about a half an hour ago while the protesters were still on the street here. Now we are having a situation right now where the protesters are on one side and the police are on the other side, and there have been attempts by some chaotic people to go through the barricade, but the other protesters have come here to repair the barricade right now, and there is some situation over there that I cannot see at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that you can see that at the moment. There's some pushing, there's some shoving, but all we do know is, yeah, there is some pushing and shoving between protesters that have gone through the barricade. Now, there's also definitely still some de-escalation tactics by the protesters, but there's still some individuals that are trying to create a scene here right now. Nevertheless, the announcement by Prayut Chan-o-cha to defuse the situation to prepare to revoke the emergency decree is conditional, and that is if there's no violence tonight. Now, that is a problem if they actually got the memo or not. But there's process between the two sides of them. We have no idea how this night is going to unfold, as the protest leaders have not said yet when this protest is going to end or if this is going to end.
All right, May, thanks for that, Saksit. Do stay safe out there. We can see the situation is rather tense. We're going to cross over to our other correspondent on the ground, May Wong. May, what can you tell us about what the protesters have been saying recently?
Well, at the moment, I'm over here at Govt House. This is where the Prime Minister's office is, and this is precisely the point where the protesters are saying that they want to march over here. It's still a long ways for them to come from where my colleague Saksit Sayasombat was earlier, but obviously you can see the fact that the police are ready to actually block them if they were to come even close. But I want to show you the fact that the police cars have been lined up here, barbed wires were just put out, and don't think that there are no police officers, because the police officers are right behind these police vans. In fact, at least 200 of the police officers in riot gear are standing by and ready if there is any kind of a confrontation with the protesters. Now, the protesters have been giving the authorities the slip in a way. Actually, when I say giving the authorities the slip, given the fact that they have been arranging all their gatherings and their assemblies at very short notice, they've been jumping from one social media platform to another. They've also been giving very little warning as to where they're going to gather, what time they're going to gather, and also what they're going to do. So all these things are keeping everyone rather curious, and also being able to quickly react to whenever the protest organizers decide as to spot A, spot B, or spot C. Now, obviously, right now, it's very, very worrying for the police officers, because they've been hearing and they've been getting updates from their colleagues also over where the protesters are, and so they're preparing for anything that were to happen here. But you must remember that things are extremely uncertain at this point, even though Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has given a speech to say that he's taking the first step to offer this so-called olive branch to the protesters to say, let's talk about it, let's listen to what you have to say, and let's come to a negotiation and a dialogue, and let's go through Parliament to resolve all these problems. It appears that the protesters want none of that, and they just want to see Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha step down. Now, of course, you must also remember that many of the protesters have been saying that throughout this entire period, what the government has been doing and what the parliamentarians have been doing is just to stall for time. And they've only been hearing all this rhetoric coming out from the government as well as from Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. What they want to see is actual actions being taken. What they want to see is the fact that the government completely, the cabinet ministers, step down in order to call for fresh elections. And that is the kind of perhaps step forward that they want to be able to be visually being able to see and witness before they are able to step back in terms of no longer having any more protests. But one last point that I also want to make here is the fact that Government House is right behind. This was the place about 1 week ago where the protesters were assembled right in front of this Government House, and until they were being dispersed on October 15 at about 4 a.m. in the morning, when Thailand actually ordered a severe emergency decree at 4 a.m. Bangkok time. That was when the protesters dispersed, and now, as you can see, it is consecutive days, almost for 1 week now, they have not let up. They have continued to protest, they've continued to call for people, and in fact, more people have come out to join in the protest because they are saying that this cannot continue and they really want to see change. And of course, they have blamed the police for using excessive force on the protesters on Friday evening, and this is something that they want to stop, and they want to stop it right now.
May, thank you very much for that, and please stay safe over there. That was May Wong and Saksit Sayasombak bringing us those updates from Bangkok.